Hello, welcome to CHRO Club. My guest of honor today is Sumit Mitra. He's CHRO of Godrej Industries, starting his career as a management trainee and rising up the ranks to become a CHRO. He spent about 3 decades at Godrej. This is not just an interview, but a masterclass for our viewers to learn from a stalwart whose journey embodies loyalty, leadership, and a transformative power of people practices. Hi Sumit, how are
Hi,
you?
Puja. Thanks a lot.
Sumit, let me start by asking you that you've had an extensive career in HR, like already said. What have been some of those turning points that have really shaped your leadership philosophy?
Yeah. No, actually, today I lead HR for the group and privileged to do it. I joined the Godrej group as a management trainee in HR, but coincidentally, my first 4 years of my career was not HR. I sort of landed up in a project to really, explore leasing of the properties and the premises around Vikhroli. And I got so interested that I led that business for the first 4 years of my career till I realized that I did specialize in HR and time to go back. And to me, I think that created a very different context because when you are actually sort of in a business, you do understand the P&L much better. You get to meet people, you get to interact with senior leadership much ahead than some of my peers at that point of time did. And to me, I think that really set me up to understand business and deliver the people agenda. I think the second important stage of my career was 2001 when Godrej Consumer Products was demerged from Godrej Soaps. And I was told to lead HR. I was still quite young and never did HR. As I said, I was in the business. But I was told, why don't you look after the HR function? And I was the lone person there. Today we have large teams. Of course, Godrej Consumer Product is a 15,000 crore company today. But when we started off, I was the lone HR person. And to me, I think it was a very fulfilling journey to see that organization grow. And then I moved to the group. I also had the privilege of leading HR, and filling in gaps for some of our other businesses. For example, I have led HR for Agrovet along with my group role for 2 years, properties for a year. I've led IT, legal, and currently also lead sustainability. So, while I pride myself to be an HR professional, but to step in and add value whenever the business requires you to, in whichever role, to me, I think really is what makes careers fulfilling.
Yeah, so what I'm underlining is to provide value to, business is very important for one to grow in HR. And, your story is like growing from the ground, as we were talking, how Vikhroli has also grown so much in the past 30 years. Godrej as a conglomerate goes through multiple, mergers, splits, and new business lines also come out, in today's time and age. So what is the HR's role in all this?
We have been at the forefront of any organization restructuring right from the beginning. As I said, our large foray around M&A started around 2006 when we bought a small company in the UK. And then we sort of subsequently went on to acquire companies in sub-Saharan Africa, Indonesia, Argentina, Chile, and it was a time when there was a lot of global expansion. HR was always at the forefront along with the business development and the M&A team. We, along with finance, legal, and M&A, used to be the first point of contact to do due diligence for any of the targets as we did. I think the role HR plays here are a few. I think one, there is a financial reason to acquire, but there's also a cultural, cognizance of how easy it is to integrate what you acquire. And understanding the cultural nuance of any organization that you're going to bring into your fold becomes very important. I think understanding leadership is the second place, because I think a lot of our acquisitions were based on first generation entrepreneurs wanting to sell. So really putting the leadership team together becomes very important. And lastly, we all believe that an acquired entity should not feel like an acquired entity. They must feel at home.
Correct.
And ensuring that the people at Godrej and people at the acquired entity are put on an equal pedestal in terms of culture, process, preferences, fairness, I think becomes a predominantly HR job. We've also started feeling that we should create organic startups within the group. And the way we've now structured some of these businesses is to say that there is a parent business, but why can't we create a startup-like environment which is free of some of the bureaucracies the parent business may bring. So we keep them at an arm's length. We offer them a buffet of services that they're free to pick and choose, which does give them the competitive advantage of processes, brand sourcing, manufacturing, etc. But they're free to choose those.
Okay.
The only two things that we ensure are tightly held is culture and financial governance.
This is really insightful. Thank you for sharing that. And to build upon the culture, Godrej is a legacy organization. But at the same time, how do you keep the culture agile, fresh, inclusive, and also aligned to the younger employees?
Yeah. No, I feel, we are almost on our 127th, 128th year of existence. And when we start looking at culture, we always say that there are things that don't change. Things like integrity, trust, consumer delight, focus on quality. I think they don't change and they are a part of your core values. As you evolve, as you grow, I think there's a very conscious effort to keep some of these as constants. But at the same time, you need to evolve. Your consumers are evolving, your employee base is evolving. And currently, our employer brand stands around 3 pillars. We say that first is tough love, which means that we demand performance, but we are going to back you up to whatever extent necessary to help you perform. The second is your canvas. We say that jobs are beyond job descriptions. You have the opportunity to do various things. And lastly, we say, we believe in whole self. I think we strongly believe that individuals and differences in individuals can create magic. And I think a lot of work that we do in HR is how do you make different individuals with very different preferences, backgrounds, gender, come together and work as equals. Today, about 25% of our workforce is women. We have about more than 500 people who are from the LGBTQI or people with disability backgrounds. At the same time, because we are focusing on the minority groups doesn't mean that you don't ask the question on what happens to the men. And, that balance becomes very important. So when we sort of evolved our maternity benefits, some of our policies around LGBTQI, we also asked what do men need. And we also revamped the policies around paternity and self-care. I think that is the underlying philosophy of ensuring that people with different backgrounds and individuality coexist. I think we need to ask the question, just like, what do the Gen Zs need, what do the millennials need, but what do my people who are 50-year-old also need?
Correct.
And to curate that basket of offering really makes the difference.
Yeah, because another bias that we see evolving in organizations is also age discrimination. Nobody would want to hire people above 50, 55, and that's a time when they also get dropped from their organizations. And these are profound values that you've spoken about, and tough love is something I'm going to take back home and I'm going to use it with my kids.
No, and tough love has been a journey. When I joined Godrej, we were quite socialist. We were like a family. You join to retire. But we did realize that if we were to grow to the next level, I think we have to become more performance oriented.
Yeah.
So now we believe in meritocracy strongly over the last 2 decades. A lot of our bonuses, our reward systems are geared towards it. We reward high performers much, much differently than we reward average performers.
Very interesting, and this is a good segue for me to bring about attrition. Most commonly, HR's KRA happens to be like attrition becomes like a big thing, you have to keep reducing attrition. But I'd just like to ask you that what is your take in it? I mean, is attrition really that bad? You also spoke about like underperformers sometimes need to go and you need to get in new people, new ideas. And secondly, I understand you're hiring about 4,000 annually. So what are some of the initiatives that are helping you to retain especially your high performing talent?
Yeah. No, I think attrition beyond the level is bad.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you are, I believe that, some attrition is always healthy because it allows you to weed out your poor performers, people with values misfit. And honestly, there are times when people hit a ceiling. But there were times when, especially when we came out of COVID, we were facing very high attrition, which was like high 20s. Right now, our regretted attrition is mid-teens, and while I still feel we have an opportunity to bring it down by a few points, it's still, I think, pretty much within the industry norms. I think when we face high attrition, a few things are important. I think one, you need to be very clear on who do you want to retain. I think listening is a very, very large piece of managing attrition at any point of time. Rather, I would say organization health and morale at any point of time. We, over the period of time, have put multiple listening tools. For example, we have a tool called Amber, which allows us to listen to employees for the first 90 days of their joining.
Okay.
We also do our annual organization health survey through Gallup. We sort of, again, listen a lot. One of the underlying ethos of people management and culture for Godrej is feedback. As I said, when we say that, it's important to be respectful, it's important to be humble. And part of that respect and humility is also to be able to take tough feedback and grow with it.
Yeah.
And to ensure that when people have difficult feedbacks, how do you help them grow?
So Sumit, in this time when HR has multiple digital tools, the digitalization, there is AI-backed technology and integrated systems that help you do all these things that you already spoke about, your Amber, employee chatbot, 360-degree feedback. And you've done, these processes without technology. You now have the technology. You're the best person to say what is really helping HR right now and how is HR becoming more strategic for business and organization because of these technologies.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who have talked about saying that you can't still take the human away from HR, which I strongly believe. But technology allows us to do a few things. I think one, it allows a very different experience for both HR and employee. Second, it allows us to move at scale. Third, it crunches time. And fourth, it can give you very, very valuable data, which sometimes we struggle with. We sort of always use technology, and we started with basic technology like our HRMS, etc. All our businesses, fortunately, right from day one, have been on the same platforms.
Okay.
So we do get a lot of data, etc., which doesn't have to be disaggregated.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. All your businesses mean the entire Godrej industry?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're all on the same HRMS, same
Okay.
recruitment tools. So
that's
we do
good.
have one big advantage we have because we have a fairly cohesive HR leadership team. We do strategically decide what do we do as a group first and business second.
Okay.
And we do have very specific plans on AI and technology itself. We are revamping few of our platforms. As you mentioned before, we recruit about 4,000 people every year, and that's a very, very large volume for a manufacturing FMCG company. The question is, while we have been using some of the online tools, ATS, etc., how do we use AI? We are sort of setting up teams to see, how do we use agentic interviews. We have certain psychometric and behavioral tools. We are also seeing whether AI can help us decipher some of the records and onboard people faster. So I think one specific use case that we want to work on over the next year or two would be recruitment.
Okay.
And I think the second important tool that we are looking for is as we relook at our self-service and employee help desk, how do we use HR and AI very differently for HR assistant. And again, I believe that this reaches out to all employees, but also sort of reaches out to the HR business partners and make their lives easier.
Okay.
And the third area that we are exploring right now is learning and feedback. As I said, feedback becomes very important. But today I think we have been piloting a few AI tools to see how feedback can get much more concise, how a lot of feedback can be taken and generated in a much lesser time than what typically human beings could do. What we have done at a group level is we have put up a AI lab. It's a structure of specialists that help you find your way around.
Yeah, I understand AI is still work in progress in
Yeah.
most organizations, and possibly there is no AI compliance frameworks also yet.
Absolutely.
But I guess all of it is in work in
Absolutely.
progress, and we'll see it evolving in future. What have been some of your most challenging moments as a HR practitioner over 30 years and as a senior leader also for last few years?
I would say my most, and there is only one, is when you have to make a choice between performance and values.
Okay.
And let me elaborate.
Yeah.
I think the job of HR, at least the way we define it as in Godrej, is to what we say as protect and serve. You have to serve the business to be successful, but you have to protect the group to ensure that its values and culture are maintained.
Okay.
And the times when you have business leaders or peers or team members who are great performers, but they don't sort of adhere to values and culture, and your first job is to have conversations, coach them, help them change, but if they still don't, you have to sort of raise it and escalate it. And fortunately we are also in a group that we are sure that the promoters would prefer culture over performance.
Moving on, Sumit, let me ask you that what are some of those leadership traits that you feel are very critical for a HR profession?
Yeah, I feel the leadership traits for an HR professional is not too different from what most business professionals would require. As I've grown up, and I've worked, and I've had the privilege to work under 2 or 3 supervisors who I really sort of taught me things over time. I think my first lesson has been around fairness and equity. And my first supervisor was someone called Hoshi Press. He was the managing director of Godrej Consumer Products. And, his point on whenever I would say someone's asking for something as an exception would be to say, what about others? If you want to give that exception, make it a policy. Right. And
Interesting.
to me, I think it's a great lesson to say that you don't give exceptions because of proximity, but because of fairness. And as an organization, we have to learn to change and give exceptions, but how do you ensure that it's available to all, whether near or far? I think that's been one very, very good learning. My second learning is around empathy and, and listening. I think it's very important to, listen. And I keep saying that as you grow in leadership, I think probably what's more important is to take a pause than to keep acting. And my third learning has been, from Nisa, who I've been reporting to for, the last couple of decades, is to look at cost, not just as cost, but as cost and investment. I think many times we keep looking at budgets and say, if you've done it in 10,000 rupees, why can't you do it in 9? The question is, I'm okay to spend 20,000 provided it gives me better impact. But if there is waste, cut it off. And to me, I think cost is important. We should all have our eyes on cost. But there are many expenses which are investments. And if we don't invest while cutting cost, I think we'll never let organizations grow.
Interesting. I'd like to ask you that there are very few CHROs who actually become CEOs. And this has been a debate for some time, and because we cover HR industry and we generally talk about that what does it really take for a CHRO to get into a CEO's shoes?
I've been very privileged that 2 of my team members moved from HR to do CEO roles.
Oh, is it? Okay.
one of them became the CEO of Chile, and the second one, Vaibhav, who currently heads HR for Godrej Consumer Products, was the CEO of Godrej South Africa. And I've seen this very closely. And again, I'll go back to say that you don't have to be, very different. I think provided you understand business, provided you are able to prioritize and know what strategic levers to push, provided you are able to motivate team members to perform and align them to your objectives, I don't see why HR people can't become CEOs.
You've left really wonderful lessons for, young HR professionals who maybe started their career or are in the midstream with all your responses to me. Lastly, I just want to ask you that in your personal life, what is that one thing that keeps you ticking, or who is your role model, at home, or anything you would like to share from your personal life?
No, personally, I always have believed that, I won't call it work-life balance, but having other interests are very, very important. I think one thing which I sort of have been following, I love gardens and I love greenery. And, I've been sort of learning this art of bonsai for the last 25 years.
Wow.
And interestingly to me, I think the lessons from bonsai and the lessons from corporate life, there are lots in common. In fact, I do run a session for young managers to say that the lessons from bonsai and corporate life. And it's very
maybe
fulfilling.
Give us one or two lessons, it would be nice.
Yeah, so for example, get your hands dirty.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying today I can't care for a bonsai tree which will live for centuries unless I know the chemistry, unless I know the biology, unless I do the soil, unless I cut the tree and do the wire. So similarly, I think when you start your careers, a lot of people say, let me do the fancy stuff. But unless you know the nitty-gritties of work, things don't work. The other lesson which I really cherish is, always look out for mentors and teachers. Because I started my bonsai hobby almost by myself with one or two sort of people I connected in Mumbai, and they taught me some things. But then I realized this is an art which doesn't come from India. It came from Japan, Malaysia, Southeast Asia. Thankfully, we had Facebook and I connected with some of the masters.
Oh, wow.
And I genuinely believe that if you're interested to learn, no one will say no.
Yeah.
And today, a lot of these masters from different Southeast Asian countries, they help me, they come here. And I go there. To me, it's very similar in corporate life because, your teachers, your supervisor, they will all help, but you need to create this ecosystem of mentors and teachers who you can reach out to learn. So there are 7 or 8 such lessons that we talk about. And it's quite interesting how they overlap.
No, thank you, Sumit. This has been full of learnings. As I mentioned earlier, that this is not just an interaction, this is a masterclass for the fraternity, for the HR community. Thank you for joining us at CHRO Club. It was a pleasure to speak to you.
My privilege, Puja.